Hello dear students, welcome to the IIT PAL series of biology. I am Rikisha Bhaumik, PGT Biology at Kendriya Vidyalaya Sector 2, RK Puram, New Delhi. Today we will be starting with the new chapter Environmental Issues Part 1 of class 12th. The study of ecology and environment should enable us to understand the underlying reasons behind the environmental issues which we are facing today, and we are so concerned about it all over the world. It should also help us in finding out novel and sustainable solutions to deal with these problems. In this chapter, we will acquaint ourselves with all those environmental issues and also look at some of the novel strategies which have been adopted to combat them. As you know that the impact of human activities is evident on our environment, and the human is the main reason behind all the environmental pollution which we are facing today. So, let us start with the growing human population and the statistics the world over. The world population as per 2012 records has reached 7 billion, and in India itself the total population is 1.2 billion. Can you think of possible implications? Yes, you are right. There will be more demand of food, home, clothing, shelter, electricity, roads and various other commodities, and what will result into? It will result into more burden on our natural resources. It will lead to overconsumption and overexploitation, resulting into the pollution of air, water, soil, and it will lead to depletion and degradation of our precious resources. In this chapter, particularly in this session of this chapter, we will be taking two types of pollution, air pollution and water pollution. But before starting, we should know the definition of pollution. Pollution is the presence of any kind of pollutant or contaminant. And what is a pollutant? It is any substance or agent that brings an undesirable change in physical, chemical or biological characteristics of a resource. So, again we will define pollution. It is the introduction of pollutants, contaminants into the natural environment, leading to an undesirable change. Environmental Protection Act was passed by the Government of India in 1986 to protect and improve the quality of our environment. Starting with the air pollution. We know that air is getting polluted day by day. It is very evident. We get to know the news and we can feel when we move outside our homes the pollutants present in air, which creates trouble for us. So, what are the various effects which we feel? Number 1, it has deleterious effect on the respiratory system of humans and animals, because air is the lifeline which we are inhaling, and it leads to direct impact on our respiratory system, the lungs, the bronchioles. It can lead to harmful effect, and it depends on the concentration and duration of exposure to pollutants. If the exposure is more, as in the case of those people whose occupation mandates more or long exposure, they are more vulnerable to the impact of air pollution on them. It can aggravate medical condition of individuals with asthma and emphysema. Asthma, emphysema and other respiratory disorders are also on the verge of increase because of the increasing air pollution. Long term health effect includes chronic respiratory diseases, lung cancer, heart diseases and even damage to brain. So, we see that the impact or the effect of air pollution on us is too much and it is too harmful for us. Now, coming to the sources of air pollution. Combustion of fossil fuels and other hydrocarbons basically leads to air pollution. These pollutants can be of two types. The air pollutants can be categorized into two types. The primary pollutants and secondary pollutants. Primary pollutants and secondary pollutants. So, what is the difference between them? The primary pollutants are the one which has a direct and identifiable source, such as in the case of fossil fuels. We know that the fossil fuels are being burned and all the industries, thermal power plants, they are using fossil fuels for their energy, and this leads to the emission of carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, sulfur oxides, etc. All these are the primary pollutants. Then what about the secondary pollutants? Secondary pollutants are those whose sources are unidentifiable. And why is it so? Because what happens is that the primary pollutants, they react with some other factor present in the air. The primary pollutants, they react with factors present in the environment, for example, sunlight or water, and they form the secondary pollutant. Can you give me some example of secondary pollutants? Yes, the example of secondary pollutants being the ozone or the ground level ozone, then acid rain is a very good example of secondary pollutant, and smog, which is commonly seen in winters and we mistake it to be a fog, is actually a secondary pollutant. So, we will be discussing about it further, but let us see the sources of air pollution. As you can see this pie chart, industry, automobiles are the major contributors to air pollution. Here you can see that industry contributes 52% to air pollution, transportation or automobiles, they contribute to 27% of the air pollution, followed by the consumer and commercial products 8%, commercial and residential heating is also leading to pollution, this is 1%, agriculture 10% and rest of the causes is 2%. So, basically we are more concerned about this industry and transportation, which are the major culprits behind the air pollution. So, let us list the common air pollutants. These are carbon monoxide, ground level ozone, lead, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide and particulate matter. These are the major air pollutants. Now, coming to the control, industries, the number one culprit is the industries, which lead to particulate and gaseous emissions into the atmosphere. And what are those major industries? They are the thermal power plants, mining and ore processing industries, oil refineries, chemical manufacturing industries, dye industries, tannery operations, lead acid battery recycling, lead smelting, industrial municipal dump sites and steel manufacturing industries. The purpose of enlisting all these industries is that some questions come in your exam. For instance, there was a question last year in the board exams relating to the name of industries which lead to air pollution. So, you need to mention the particular name of those industries which are contributing in air pollution in such type of questions. Next, devices for removing pollutants. What are the devices which we can use in the industries to remove these pollutants from the air which is being emitted, from the smoke or the air or the smoke which is getting emitted out of the chimneys and smokestacks. The industrial emissions can be reduced if following devices are installed in the smokestacks and chimneys. Some examples are electrostatic precipitators, scrubber, incineration, cyclone separators. But in this chapter, we will be focusing on electrostatic precipitator and scrubber. So, what is an electrostatic precipitator and how does it function? It is the most widely used device in thermal power plants specifically. It can remove over 99% of the particulate matter which is present in the emissions. It produces, what happens is actually that it produces an electric field electrostatic precipitator, you can go by the name that it produces an electric field through electrode maintained at several thousand volts, and it has a collecting plate to collect the dust particles. This is the image of an electrostatic precipitator, how it looks externally. So, what happens, as you can see in this picture, this is the internal functioning of an electrostatic precipitator. The electric field is generated, the electric field is maintained with the help of electrodes, and the ionization of the emission or the air takes place, resulting in the release of corona discharge, and this corona discharge releases electrons. These electrons being negatively charged, they will attract the dust particles with them. The electrons get attached with the dust particles which is present in the emission, and the air, as you can see, the dust particle, the dirty air is being sent through this part, and the air velocity is reduced, so that these electrons which have attached the dirt particles or the dust particles with them will fall down into the collection plate. So, the collection plates which are grounded, they attract the charged dust particles, and because of the low velocity of air, these particles will get attracted to the collection plate and will get separated. So, the air which comes out of it is the clean air. Next, coming to scrubber. Scrubber is a very simple device and it is used to remove some gases like sulfur dioxide. In a scrubber, the exhaust is passed through a spray of water or lime. The gas coming from the exhaust is subjected to the spray of water, lime in counter current direction, as you can see in this picture, that this is the dirty air and this is the device, the scrubber, and there is a spray of water or lime which is given in counter current direction, so that the dirt particles or the gases, they get absorbed by them, and the remaining air which is filtered is the clean air which is emitted out. This is how a scrubber as well as an electrostatic precipitator can help in reducing the emissions, the harmful emissions into the air, if they are properly installed in the smokestacks or chimneys of the industries. Now, these industries can be very harmful, especially the chemical industries, and if not taken care properly, they can lead to disastrous incidents. One such incident is the Bhopal gas tragedy, which occurred on December 3, 1984. 40 tons of toxic gas methyl isocyanate, short form is MIC, was accidentally released from Union Carbide's Bhopal plant, which leaked and spread throughout this city. You can imagine the disaster which occurred. The residents awoke to clouds of suffocating gas. This all occurred in night, and when they awoke to the clouds of suffocating gases. An estimated 10,000 or more people died, and the lungs, brains, eyes, muscles as well as gastrointestinal, neurological, reproductive, immune system of those who survived was severely affected. Such kind of tragedy again reminds us or alerts us that we should remain in harmony with the nature. Next, what is suspended particulate matter? One of the pollutant is the suspended particulate matter, which are very small in size. It is a complex mixture of organic substances present in the atmosphere, both as solid particles and liquid droplets. These are very small and they can be inhaled, and they create inflammation in our lungs and bronchioles. They can be very harmful. So, what are those SPMs? The examples are dust, smoke, fume, mist, aerosol. Dust is about 100 microns in diameter. I suppose you must be knowing what is a micron. 1 micron or micrometer. 1 micrometer or micron is equal to 10 to the power minus 6 meter. So, if we take it this, then the 1 meter, if so many parts are done, it will be equal to 1 micron. So, it is so small. So, dust particles are about 100 microns in diameter. The example are coal dust, cement dust. Smoke are the solid particles of 0.05 to 1 microns, and it is because of the incomplete combustion of fossil fuels. Fume, the suspended solids which are less than 1 micron, examples are zinc or lead oxides. Mist are the liquid droplets which are less than 2 microns present in air. Aerosol, liquid or solid aerosol which are less than 1 microns. So, these are the suspended particulate matter, and what are their impact or effect on us? According to Central Pollution Control Board CPCB, particulate size 2.5 microns or less in diameter are responsible for causing greatest harm to human health. These can be inhaled deep into the lungs and can cause breathing and respiratory symptoms, irritation, inflammation and damage to the lungs, and it may also lead to premature death. Next, we have discussed that the sources of air pollution, the major sources of air pollution are industries and automobiles. We have discussed about the industrial pollution and how to control it. Now, we will be discussing about the vehicular pollution. Actually, the automobiles are the major cause of air pollution in cities, especially so in the metro cities like Delhi. What measures can we take for reducing automobile pollution? We can maintain our automobiles regularly. There should be proper maintenance done for our automobiles. We should use lead free petrol or diesel. Catalytic converters should be fitted into the automobiles for reducing the emission of poisonous gas. We should switch over to cleaner fuels like CNG, LPG. We should use public transport or carpooling, which we can take on individual level. Now, coming to the catalytic converter. I have talked about the catalytic converter. So, how does it function? A catalytic converter have expensive metals like platinum, palladium, rhodium as catalyst. As the name suggests, it has a catalyst and it is converting something. What does it convert? It converts the unburnt hydrocarbons into carbon dioxide and water by doing complete combustion of them. The harmful gases like carbon monoxide and nitric oxide are changed to carbon dioxide and nitrogen gas. This way, the catalytic converter reduces the emission of harmful gases into the air, which is being done by the automobiles. But these catalytic converters, they cannot function if lead is present in the petrol. So, such motor vehicles which are equipped with catalytic converters should use unleaded petrol, because the lead in petrol inactivates the catalyst. Now, we will look at a novel strategy which was done in Delhi. It is a case study of Delhi. In 1990s, Delhi ranked 4th among the 41 most polluted cities of the world. I remember when I was a school going student, Delhi was very much polluted, but something happened which led to a reform. And what was that? A PIL was filed. PIL is public interest litigation, which can be filed by any of the citizen of India in interest of the general public. It was filed in the Supreme Court of India. After being censored very strongly, the government was asked to take within a specified time period appropriate measures, including switching over the entire fleet of public transport, that is buses, from diesel into compressed natural gases. So, there was a shift, there was a transformation. Earlier all the buses were running on diesel and the autos, they were also running on petrol, but because of this directive given by the Supreme Court of India, all the buses were converted into CNG, and even the autos and taxis, they were also switched over to the CNG as the fuel. All the buses of the Delhi, all the buses including the autos and the taxis, they were converted to run on CNG by the end of 2002. Along with this, there was phasing out of the old vehicles which was done. Use of unleaded petrol was encouraged, use of low sulfur petrol and diesel was encouraged, use of catalytic converters in vehicle, application of stringent pollution level norms through a new auto fuel policy which was introduced. More stringent norm for fuel means steadily reducing the sulfur and aromatic content in the petrol and diesel fuels. We will be learning about them too in our further slides. Along with this, many more measures like plantation drive was carried out at a mass level, so that in 2002 to 2005-10 the environment of Delhi was much cleaner and greener. So, why this transformation to CNG was done? What are the qualities of CNG which makes it such a good fuel? Number 1, it is a very efficient fuel because very little of it is left unburnt. Secondly, it is cheaper than petrol and diesel. It can't be siphoned off by thieves easily and it can't be adulterated. So, these are the advantages of CNG which make it a favored fuel. But the situation again has changed. Till 2002 to 2005-10 the situation was okay, but again we have seen a shoot or rise in the level of air pollution in Delhi. Delhi needs reform again. As you can see in this newspaper clipping of Times of India, that around the mid-November after Deepavali there was a hazy smog scene before the coming of winters. What were the reasons behind them? Here you can see the 4 factors behind Delhi smog. Number 1 is the smoke wafting in from farm fires in Punjab and Haryana. As you know that Punjab and Haryana are the adjacent states of Delhi and they are involved in practices of stub burning, and this stub burning is also leading to immense air pollution. Secondly, the moisture transported to North India by cyclone Neelam. Water droplets mix with smoke and pollutants to form smog. Third, already Delhi is very much polluted because of the auto emissions and the dropping temperature, absence of wind, due to which the smoke hangs in the air throughout the day. So, these were the reasons behind the hazy smoke which was seen, and there was a shoot just after the children they played with crackers on the eve of Deepavali. So, these needs to be controlled because it is our environment, the air which we are breathing needs to be pure, otherwise it will harm us a lot. Next, let us summarize what we have learned about air pollution. As you can see in this picture gives you a holistic perspective about the air which we are breathing. These are the industries, these are the sources of air pollution. You can see NOx is the nitrogen oxides, VOCs are the volatile organic compounds, these are the carbon emissions and these are emitted from almost everything. Even inside our homes there is the emission of VOCs. They have a very low boiling point and they vaporize very quickly into the air. They can be emitted from paints, they can be emitted from the old furnitures. Then the carbon monoxide emission, sulfur oxide emission, heavy metals like lead, mercury. Then the environmental factor like vapor is already present, the sun is present which is providing heat, UV rays. This is indoor air pollution which I have already mentioned. There carbon dioxide emission, volatile organic compounds, and here the automobiles which are the second most polluting agents. They are also leading to the emission of nitrogen oxide, carbon monoxide, and here what you see, these are the secondary pollutants which are being formed. The stub burning has been shown, the agriculture and the stub burning, they are also releasing nitrogen oxide, sulfur oxide, carbon monoxide. So, we see in totality that there are so many pollutants which is present in the air which we are inhaling, and again when it gets favorable condition, they get converted into secondary pollutants like smog, peroxyacetyl nitrate which creates a burning sensation in your eyes, bad ozone. There are 2 type of ozone, bad ozone and good ozone. The good ozone which is protecting us from the ultraviolet rays and it is present in the stratosphere. The bad ozone is which is being formed in the troposphere because of the reaction of UV rays, nitrogen oxides and volatile organic compounds. Then with water also, the nitrogen oxide, they can form nitric acid, sulfurous acid or sulfuric acid resulting into acid rain. So, this is the entire scenario which we are facing because of the air pollution. Now, in order to control air pollution, we know that new auto fuel policies have been formulated. For example, the Euro 2 norms which have been mentioned in your book. It refers to the permissible emission levels from both petrol and diesel vehicles which have been implemented in Europe. So, the name Euro comes from Europe. It stipulates that sulfur be controlled at 350 ppm in diesel and 150 ppm in petrol. ppm is parts per million. Aromatic hydrocarbons are to be contained at 42% of the concerned fuel, and the goal is to reduce sulfur to 50 ppm in petrol and diesel. India adopted Euro 1 norm in 2000, Euro 2 norms in 2005 and Euro 3 norms in 2010. And these are upgrading. Euro 5, Euro 6 norms have also come, and as there is an upgradation, it mandates that the emission level should be low, it should be lowered and lowered. Bharat stage 2 is relevant for our country Bharat, the auto fuel policy according to our needs. You must have seen this kind of logo in some of the cars, Bharat 4. It refers to the emission standards instituted by the Government of India for vehicles. Central Pollution Control Board CPCB sets this standard and time frame for their implementation. Bharat stage 2 is equivalent to Euro 2 norms which is currently in place in bigger and most polluted cities, but it has upgraded, it has been updated, and now we are following the Bharat stage 4 and even 5 in some of the cities or areas. Here again you can see a Times of India newspaper cutting where it is showing the norm for Bharat stage 3, Bharat stage 4, Euro 6. So, you can see that there is a gradual decline in Bharat stage 2. Carbon monoxide emission limit was limited to 2.30 gram per kilometer. In Bharat stage 4 it is 1, Euro 6 is 1. Again for nitrogen oxides and hydrocarbons, particulate matter, it is the similar trend. Similarly, for the diesel emission norms also. So, what are these auto fuel policy? They are actually giving us the norm for the emission of various pollutants into the air. Next, we will move on to the water pollution. After knowing about the air pollution, now we will move to the water pollution. Again, water is also a very important resource. It is our lifeline. We cannot do without it. Human activities but are abusing the water bodies. The Government of India has passed Water Act 1974 to safeguard our water resources. Now, again we will identify the sources of water pollution. It is the domestic sewage which is coming out of our houses daily in enormous quantity. You can imagine the number of people, the number of homes we have all over the country, and the collective amount of the sewage which is being generated on a daily basis. Industrial effluents, agrochemicals, the chemicals which we are using in the agriculture, they are draining along with the water and getting mixed with the other water bodies. Alien species invasion, then thermal wastewater, we will discuss about it one by one. Domestic sewage and industrial effluent. A mere 0.1% impurities make domestic sewage unfit for human use. You can see that the water is 99.9% pure, but only 0.1% impurity make it unfit for drinking. The drinking water, as you must be knowing, is also known as potable water. So, it does not remain potable because of the 0.1% impurities in them. What these impurities comprise of? Number 1, suspended solids like sand, silt and clay. Colloidal materials like fecal matter, bacteria, cloth and paper fibers. Dissolved materials like nitrate, ammonia, phosphate, sodium, calcium, nutrients. Now, moving on to some important concept relating to water pollution. Biochemical oxygen demand. What is the meaning of biochemical oxygen demand? BOD. Biochemical oxygen demand is also referred to as BOD. So, BOD is the amount of oxygen which is required by microorganisms or the decomposers to decompose the organic matter which is present in 1 liter of water. So, you should remember how to define BOD. It is the amount of oxygen required by decomposers to completely decompose the organic matter present in 1 liter of water. So, BOD and BOD and dissolved oxygen content, DO content, are inversely related to each other. They are inversely related. Let us learn more about it. The microorganisms involved in the biodegradation of organic matter in the receiving water body, they consume a lot of oxygen. If the dissolved oxygen content is already high, then it will require additional oxygen less in amount, but if the dissolved oxygen content is less in the water body, the demand will be more and so the BOD will be more. Hence, there is a inverse relationship between BOD and dissolved oxygen content. You should remember this because many questions comes on this topic. This results into a sharp decline in dissolved oxygen downstream from the point of sewage discharge, and this causes the mortality of fish because if the oxygen is deficient in the lake, it will lead to killing of the aquatic creatures. With the help of this graph, you can understand the relationship between BOD and DO. Here you are seeing the sewage discharge. When the sewage has been discharged, the dissolved oxygen content of the water body shows a drastic decline and the BOD is rising. There is an abrupt increase in the BOD, biochemical oxygen demand, and as the decomposers, they decompose or oxidize the organic matter present in the sewage, the BOD will decrease gradually, resulting into increasing of the dissolved oxygen. So, there is an inverse trend in the BOD and dissolved oxygen content. If the sewage discharges more, the lake or the water body will be deficient in oxygen, which will lead to the killing of fishes and disappearance of clean water. But as the dissolved oxygen content is more, BOD is less, there will be a reappearance of clean water organisms. Next topic is algal bloom. Every one of us have seen algal bloom. Whenever we go somewhere, we visit the ponds and we see the ponds or the water bodies, they are covered with a greenish layer. That layer is the algal bloom actually, and the cause behind is the large amount of nutrients from the agricultural field which has entered into these water bodies. These nutrients are good for the growth of planktons and algae, and it results in the excessive growth of them, which leads to algal bloom. This is known as algal bloom. It is the excessive growth of algae because of the presence of nutrients in the water body. This imparts a distinct color to the water body, it becomes greenish in color, and it further leads to deterioration of the water quality and fish mortality, because the algae will cover the entire surface, the sunlight will be less, and because of the less sunlight there will be less productivity, there will be less oxygen, because when this algae will die there will be requirement of more microorganism, leading to increase in BOD, leading to all these conditions. Some of the bloom forming algae are also extremely toxic to human beings and animals. Next, terror of Bengal. Water hyacinth, Iconia crassipes, which we have discussed many a times. It is the world's most notorious aquatic weed. It was introduced into India for its beautiful mauve colored flowers and shape of leaves. but in the absence of any predator, natural conditions, natural predator, it became highly invasive, and these cause havoc by their excessive growth. Their growth is faster than our ability to remove them. This is a picture of water hyacinth. Again, this is a very common vision whenever we go somewhere in the water bodies. We can see like algal bloom, these are also very pernicious, they can be seen everywhere. Effect of water pollution to human health. Humans are also being impacted or affected by the pollution in water. The sewage from homes and hospital, they contain pathogens, disease causing organism. If disposed without proper treatment, they may cause outbreak of waterborne diseases like dysentery, typhoid, jaundice, cholera, etc. Wastewater from industries like petroleum, paper manufacturing, metal extraction and processing, chemical manufacturing, etc. also contain toxic substances. Heavy metals can also be present like mercury, cadmium, copper, lead, etc., and a variety of organic compounds which further pollutes the water, and if in the food cycle it reaches humans, it will cause disastrous effect on them. Next concept is biomagnification. Biomagnification refers to increase in the concentration of a particular toxicant. Since we are saying that certain toxic compounds like DDT, mercury from the agriculture which we are using in the form of pesticide, these toxic compounds, they may enter into the water bodies, and in the water food chain, in the aquatic food chain, they keep on increasing at the successive trophic level, and this unique phenomenon is known as biomagnification. This happens because the toxic substance accumulated by an organism cannot be metabolized or excreted and is thus passed on to the next higher trophic level. This phenomenon is well known for mercury and DDT. Here in this picture you can see that if the level of DDT in water is 0.003 ppm parts per million, it is showing almost more than 10 times increase in the zooplankton, which is 0.04 ppm. Then again more than 10 times in small fishes, 0.5 ppm, and eventually the fish eating birds will show 5 ppm concentration of DDT. At such high concentration, they will start showing their impact on their health. At low concentration, they may not impact these organisms, but at such a high concentration, they will affect the organism which are showing such a high level of toxic compound in them. High concentration of DDT disturbs calcium metabolism in the birds. It may lead to thinning of the eggshell and their premature breaking, which is leading to decline in the population of these birds. Next topic is eutrophication. Eutrophication is actually natural aging of a lake by nutrient enrichment of its water. As the lake's fertility increases due to streams carrying nutrients draining into the lake, plant and animal life flourishes. The organic remains begin to be deposited on the lake bottom. Over the centuries, they pile up and the lake grows shallower and warmer. Marsh plants take root, followed by the bigger plants and trees, and they begin to fill it, and they eventually convert into land. So, this is a natural process which takes many years, thousands of years. But again, because of anthropogenic activities, this process has been accelerated, and this accelerated eutrophication is known as cultural eutrophication. The industrial and agricultural pollutants primarily add nitrates and phosphates to the water body. This radically accelerates the aging process and is referred to as cultural or accelerated eutrophication. A lake can choke to death due to following reasons: excessive growth of algae which cause unsightly scum and unpleasant odors. The pollutants which are flowing into the lake may poison the whole population of fish. Decomposition of the remains of aquatic organisms. Again, the concept of BOD and the organisms will come. They will further deplete oxygen. The process of decomposition requires oxygen. They will further deplete the oxygen from the water body, and in the absence of oxygen, the lake will choke to death. Next important pollutant is the thermal wastewater. The heated wastewater, which is mainly coming out of the electricity generating units like thermal power plants, they constitute a category of pollutants. It eliminates or reduces the number of organisms sensitive to high temperature. The hot water from the industry used in boilers etc., they are being directly sent or flown into the river bodies, and when this water mingles with the cold water of the river, it may lead to killing of many of the aquatic organisms which are sensitive to heat. In very cold areas, it may enhance the growth of some plants and fish, but cause damage to indigenous flora and fauna. So, we have taken up many concepts related to water pollution. Now, we will focus on the novel strategy which was used in Arcata for the treatment of water or water pollution, for reducing water pollution. It is the integrated wastewater treatment. It involves utilizing a mix of artificial and natural processes. Such a novel method for treating wastewater was seen in town of Arcata, which is situated along the north coast of California. The people of the town collaborated with the biologists from the Humboldt State University to create an integrated wastewater treatment process within a natural system. So, there was a mix of two types of system here. The cleaning occurs in two stages here. Number one, the conventional sedimentation followed by filtration, chlorine treatment is given. But the toxic compound, in order to remove them, the biologists developed a series of 6 connected marshes over 60 hectares of marshland. These marshlands, these marshes are actually the places which can do the process of filtration at many levels. Moreover, appropriate plants, algae, fungi and bacteria were seeded into this area, which neutralized, absorbed and assimilated the pollutants. In this way, the water was cleaned in an integrated manner. Hence, as the water flows through the marshes, it gets purified naturally. So, one purpose it is solving is to clean or purify the water naturally, but there is one more purpose which is getting fulfilled here. It is increasing the biodiversity. The Arcata marsh also constitute a sanctuary with a high level of biodiversity in that region. The citizen group called the Friends of Arcata Marsh or FOAM are responsible for the upkeep and safeguard of this wonderful project. You can see here, this is the picture of the Arcata marsh, and there are many pelicans and many different types of organisms living here. So, this was a novel strategy which was found by the biologist along with the cooperation of the people of that region in order to conserve and purify the water. Now, till now we have been discussing and we think that water is essential for cleaning everything, but it would be very good indeed if water is not needed to clean everything, and in this way the water will be conserved and preserved. One such initiative has been taken by ecological sanitation. It is a sustainable system for handling human excreta using dry composting toilets. This is a practical, hygienic, efficient and cost effective solution to waste disposal. With this composting method, human excreta can be recycled into a resource as a natural fertilizers. So, we need to come up with more such kind of novel strategies to deal with the garbage which we have generated or the pollution which we have created in the environment. Such working eco-sand toilets are also present in many areas of Kerala and Sri Lanka. So, I think in this session we have completed a lot many topics relating to water pollution and air pollution. But before leaving, we should summarize and get a picture of the water pollution in our mind. Again, you can identify the sources, the industries, thermal water, the industrial waste water, and this is the water body. All the waste water is being dumped into these water bodies. The sewage, the domestic sewage is again being dumped into the water body. The agrochemicals present in the farms or the agricultural lands, they are also being washed and dumped into these water bodies. And you can imagine what will happen to these aquatic organisms, for which this is the habitat. The phytoplankton, zooplankton, small fishes, large fishes and bird. This is like a food chain which I have represented in this diagram. And for instance, if we think about the DDT and mercury, it will keep on accumulating and increasing at each trophic level, and there will be a decline in the bird population because of the premature breaking of their eggs. Further, there will be the algal bloom, because the nutrients are also coming and these nutrients are leading to excessive growth of the algae. This is creating algal bloom. The sunlight will not reach, there will be the choking of the lake, and the aquatic organism again will be adversely affected. There will be less of dissolved oxygen here, more of BOD. For the decomposition of the dead matter, the microorganism will require more oxygen. So, there will be more oxygen demand, and it will lead into the cultural eutrophication of this water body. So, I hope that this picture gives you a holistic perspective of how water is getting polluted. It is harmful for us as human beings as well as for the other organisms, especially the aquatic organism whose sustenance depends on the purity of water or the cleanliness of water. We are making this earth unsafe day by day, not for us, but for all the living organisms, and whatever we are doing will come back to us. So, we need to preserve our earth, we need to preserve our environment. Environment is so vital for us, and if we are not concerned about our environment, all the things will come back to us, as we have seen in the case of air pollution, as we have seen in the case of water pollution, that the pollutants present in water is by the process of biomagnification coming back to us at a very high concentration. Similarly, in the case of air pollution, the air pollutants which we are emitting into the atmosphere, they are the primary pollutants. They are again mixing with the factors present in the atmosphere, and they are getting converted into the more harmful secondary pollutant, and we are getting harmed by this. We are day by day feeling the pinch of the climate change. All this is because we are not concerned, we were not concerned about our environment. Now it is high time we should stop doing this, we should stop degrading our environment, and we should adopt such methods or strategies so that we can protect our environment. With this message, I hope you will, with this message, let us end this chapter. Thank you.